there are two critiques that are frequently made of financial transactions tax. One, that it will be passed straight on to banks' customers in exactly the same way that drinks and tobacco taxes are passed straight on to the consumers. And two, that the financial crisis was largely the result of a housing bubble and the fantasy financial assets that were created to fund that housing bubble. It wasn't really the effect of frenetic high-frequency trading. I just wonder if anyone would like to, perhaps Jeff would like to deal with those.
I think the financial crisis was, broadly speaking, the result of an unregulated financial system and a tremendous amount of liquidity pumped into the system by our central banks through these money center financial institutions. Housing was one of the ways that the bubble was created, but this crisis also lived on all sorts of other unregulated aspects of our new financial system. Without the credit default swaps, we never would have had the kind of securitized massive overlending that took place. And within a 7-year period, I think an unprecedented phenomenon occurred, and that is a growth of a sector from essentially zero, these credit default swap derivatives, to $62 trillion without any regulation whatsoever, and obviously no tax collection as well. $62 trillion is, by the way, a lot of money even for macroeconomics. To have a market grow to the size of the whole world economy before our eyes without one single regulator asking one question about it is a shocking, shocking dereliction of basic responsibility for which I thank Mr. Greenspan and Mr. Bernanke because they are at the core responsible for watching those things, and they didn't watch at all. So what we have is a financial system that has grown absolutely out of bounds, and we have a tremendous amount of transaction that even the most insiders, and I'm certainly not the most insider, claims they do not understand. It's opaque. The risks are still not managed, not understood, and so forth. What this tax will do, beside collecting some revenue, is begin to shrink a bit of this sector. There is far too much transacting taking place. Tobin talked about the massive churning in these markets as characteristic of these markets 40 years ago. Of course, Keynes said it more than 70 years ago, and I think it's grown out of bounds. So the incidence of and by the way, I should, before coming to your first point, just to say the following. I don't think that we know the single magic tax right now, whether it's 0.05% on financial transactions, whether it's a tax on derivatives, whether it's a tax on the bank's balance sheets. My own view is that we're probably aiming for a kind of portfolio of taxes to bring the financial sector under taxation and under control. And that when we see these bonuses, which have been running roughly $30 billion a year in good years and bailout years, when we see that kind of abuse, we know that we have our work to do. And exactly how this should be done, I don't know. So I'm not meaning to endorse a absolutely specific form. I want us to get started, and I want us to start introducing some taxes on compensation, which this country has done, but my own country has not done, on the bankers' bonuses. I want us to go right after the excess profits of Wall Street this year, which in my view are nothing but a handoff from the Fed of some of its seniorage to private banks who have pocketed it, and I would like some of that back. I'd like to try Tobin's idea of a transactions tax because I think it's another good form of taxation. But I don't want us to hang everything on one specific form. I think we're basically talking about financial sector taxation of a sector which has been so, let's just one more step back, been so politically powerful that it has written its ticket for 20 years in a way that is shocking. And the results are shocking. And the lack of, in my side of the Atlantic, the lack of a political response is shocking, but it shows what you get when you spend billions of dollars of lobbying, which is what Wall Street does, and when you spend hundreds of millions of dollars in a campaign cycle on campaign contributions. So this is fighting back to get some normalcy, decency, and funding out of this. Where will the incidence be? It's a little hard to know. And it depends exactly on the kinds of taxes. I'm quite sure that we can grab some of that seniorage back by some kind of balance sheet taxation. I'm sure that the incidence of trading taxes would be felt on trading profits, would be felt by shareholders, would be felt on bank bonuses, and would be felt perhaps on ultimate investors and savers as well to some modest extent. We don't really know. I'd like us to get started, and by the way, start on a low rate, harmonized across countries, and I think we'll find that this is, on the whole, compared to our other options right now, a progressive and non-distortionary tax. Tobin's whole idea was that not only would this not be an excess burden tax, but it would be a corrective, and I think that that's what we're going to find it to be.
Right.